City Talks with Reuben Abati.
With Reuben Abati on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051 FM. On this show, we talk about stories of political and human interest that affect us as Nigerian citizens and as members of a global human community. Today, we'll be discussing the federal government's decision to lift the ban placed on microblogging site Twitter a few months ago, 7 months ago, to be precise. And to guide us through this, we have a special guest, and it is with a great pleasure that I introduce Segun Awosanya, popularly known as Segalink. Segun is a Nigerian realtor, human rights activist, and a business and strategic communications consultant. He was one of the early organizers, advocates of the campaign against police brutality in Nigeria, using the social media as a tool, while engaging government authorities using the hashtag #EndSARS, hashtag Reform Police Nigeria advocacy instruments. These social media activities, championed by him, later yielded results. When the Buhari-led government announced a total overhaul of the Department of Special Anti-Robbery Squad, popularly known as SARS. Awosanya is the founder and president of the Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation, and he has continued to freely educate and enlighten the public through Twitter with successful direct intervention in bridging institutional gaps between the people and government institutions. In the aftermath of the hashtag #EndSARS protests in Nigeria, Awosanya was listed as a member of the Lagos State Judiciary Panel of Inquiry by the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu on police brutality in Lagos State. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700 1051 1051. You can also leave comments on our WhatsApp number 09099164403 and on our social media accounts at City 1051 on Zoom and Facebook. Segun Awosanya, Segalink, you are welcome to the program. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Hello, Segun. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I can.
Well, Segun, great delight to have you again on the program. You are probably one of the most active persons on Twitter in Nigeria. But before we get to Twitter, let's start with Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Today is January 15, a major date in Nigerian history, but the date that has also been chosen by the Nigerian government to celebrate our fallen heroes. Earlier this morning, around 1 a.m., I tried to write a think piece on the significance of January 15. And I would just like us to start with that. Because as we speak, in Abuja and other parts of the country, political leaders, the government of Nigeria is paying tribute to those fallen heroes who defended Nigeria so that the rest of us can have something that we can point to as Nigeria. Persons who made the ultimate sacrifice as soldiers in the defense of the entity known as Nigeria. And here is my take. I would like to read it out very quickly, and I'll come to you, Segun, for you to have your own take on the subject of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, January 15. And here is my take. We remember today, as always, the fallen heroes of the Nigerian military who paid the supreme sacrifice, serving this country in accordance with the oath of their commission and engagement. Their widows, children, and the families they left behind, who after a fashion may not have been well served by the Nigerian state. And the retired soldiers, the legionnaires, who are still alive, to witness how this same country they fought to defend is now in the grips of man-made, contrived, centrifugal forces. Armed Forces Remembrance Day, January 15, is not a routine cultural event. Its true meaning is imbued with the symbolisms of love, sacrifice, duty, service, and gallantry. Nigeria should forever remain grateful to all the servicemen and women who died in the cause of duty to ensure that the sovereignty and integrity of this country remain inviolable. It is impossible to think of Nigeria as it is without these considerations. We are consoled by the fact that the Nigerian Army remains a living institution on a forward, quick march. Well, those are my thoughts, Reuben Abati, my reflections on Armed Forces Remembrance Day. But I'm not a guest, we have a guest, and his name is Segun Awosanya, popularly known as Segalink. Segun, let's start with that before we begin to talk about the lifting of the ban on Twitter or the adaptation of Twitter, as Garuba Shehu calls it. Over to you, Segun.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reuben Abati. It's always a pleasure, sharing your platform with you and educating the public with our own views based on experience on the field. Starting by commending the families of our fallen heroes who we remember today, especially for our nation. And in one of the ways in which we can remember them properly and celebrate them for their sacrifice for our nation is by ensuring that their death is not in vain and their sacrifice is not in vain, by ensuring that we create a sense of responsibility, that is a political will behind government responsiveness towards taking care of people or families of those who we have lost, to their engagement in the protection of the territories of our country. We know that as we share a lot of we share a lot of issues, or let's just say plethora of socio-economic, political issues that besiege our republic, with other communities like religious extremism, global migration, volatility of global capital markets, global warming, ungoverned spaces, misgoverned spaces, porous borders, asymmetric warfares, drug, arms, human trafficking, global pandemics, and the rest of it. There are so many. And we know that our armed forces have been stretched to their limits, on all this, both internal crisis and external ones and the rest. So it goes to show that a time comes when all of us, citizens generally, people active within the social, civil society spaces, to engage authorities to ensure that when people die, when patriots, soldiers, armed forces, police officers, when they die in the line of action, there is always something to look forward to by their families. Other countries have these measures in place whereby people are not even afraid to die for their nations, because they know that the moment that happens, there are several interventions and several means through which the state itself, the government itself, both federal and state, will reach out to them in a sustainable manner, that their families will not even, they will not feel sorrowful. They will not even feel the demise of that person. They will be celebrating their demise because of the sacrifices they've made and because of the response of the state to that effect. But again, when we look at our situation, it's more or less nothing to write home about. I don't even know if there's any plan whatsoever, towards the payment of the pensions of the lost of our fallen heroes, towards the education of their children, towards the stabilization of their families, towards housing for these people, towards ameliorating the pains of those that they've left behind. And this is key for us. If we're saying we're paying homage to our fallen heroes, we must be able to show something, in return for their sacrifice, especially towards ameliorating the pains and towards granting succor to those that they have left behind. And I think that is very important. And I think that must be addressed in order to be able to properly say that we appreciate our fallen heroes enough to do something that is sustainable enough for those they've left behind. And I think this is in the spirit of patriotism, in the spirit of nation building. Thank you, sir.
Well, Segun, I guess you cannot be more correct, but because even as we're celebrating dead soldiers and those who got injured and all of that today. Do you know that the legionnaires, the commissioners, the legionnaires, retired soldiers who are still involved one way or the other in helping to ensure security, they are protesting in certain states of the Federation that they don't get their salaries, that their pensions are not paid, and nobody is looking after them. And there are thousands of widows out there who are saying that, look, our government is not looking after them after their breadwinners paid the supreme sacrifice in order to keep Nigeria one and in order to ensure security. Every year, yes, we have a program. They launch the sale of poppycocks. Has anybody ever given an account in that regard? Well, I guess it's important for people to die for their country. What is that famous saying again? Pro patria mori. It is sweet and fitting to die for one's country. I hope we will not get to a stage where the uniformed services will be wondering whether they should die for Nigeria, and why should they die for Nigeria? Because we need men of valor to continue to protect us so that Segun, Awosanya, and the rest of us can sleep soundly at night. Anyway, Segun, let's go quickly to the issue of Twitter. On June 5, 2021, the government of Nigeria decided to shut down Twitter in Nigeria. Garuba Shehu tells us that the objective is to adapt Twitter to meet national aspirations, particularly with regard for respect, as he points out, culture and tradition of Nigerians, and also to ensure that nobody uses Twitter to sabotage the Nigerian government. And he listed a number of agreements that Twitter has acceded to: appointment of a country representative, the opening of an office, and several other agreements. And he talks about how mutual trust has been developed between Nigeria and Twitter. Can you please take us through your own reaction to this development? June 5, 2021 to January 13, 2022.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reuben Abati. I think, first of all, before we can begin to delve into the statement by government, we must look at the cost of government policies and the impact on the society. You have a nation of over 70% of its that has over 70% of its population being youth, and you have a platform that tends to galvanize their interests. You see, there is no platform ever in life that is absolutely positive or absolutely negative. It's a potpourri of the two. It's a mixture of both. Even governance globally cannot be said to be good or bad. Governance or governments are governments. There's no polarity to it, even though some may be very negative and some may be working towards positivity. And so there's no platform ever that is ever created that can be totally, controlled. If you put too much control on everything, it loses innovation, it loses the freedom, it loses, its innovative, qualities. So with Twitter, when we look at what government has done, in the first instance, is it the best response to whatever it is that must have the government of Nigeria? Is that the best response? To cut down, to clamp down on a platform that majority of the populace use to express themselves, use to hold government to account, and also use for their businesses. If you look at, for those who uses Twitter or social media tools a lot, there's something called the NetBlock's cost of shutdown tool. When you look at that tool and you look at the cost of shutting down Twitter, given the adoption in Nigeria, for the period of 7 months or 222 days, it's going to give you about an estimated figure of about $26.1 billion. That's about 10.72 trillion naira. Compare that with the amount Nigeria is even owing nations, and look at how much of a chunk that is. In a country where the government themselves are not even fully engaging their youth, they are not even looking through how they can, given the corona sessions, the Omicrons and the rest of it, and the impact on businesses and all, and knowing fully well that we have a huge village of unemployed who are helping themselves to make a living. And then they have chosen and adopted this platform as a means through which they not only express themselves, they also showcase their talent, they showcase their gift and the rest. And then they are losing about 10.72 trillion in 7 months. And all government can say is focus more on justifying this based on their lack of control or their seeming lack of total control of Twitter. I don't think it's worth it. I don't believe that this is a way in which government can actually win trust. And if you say that, how can we justify this cost as estimated by this? I'll give you an example. There's also something called the influencer marketing hub Twitter money calculator. And I mean, when you look at the Twitter money calculator, you can look at people who have followers and all. If you enter your handle, your Twitter handle into this website, it's going to calculate based on your followers, based on your number of tweets, based on the total retweets you have, based on the number of favorite tweets you have, based on your engagement. It's going to calculate for you how much your tweet is worth. If I use myself as an example, I have over 409,000 tweets, almost 500,000 tweets so far since the 13 years of my being on Twitter. And I'm averaging like 1,000 tweets per week. So if I have 1,000 tweets per week, and there are 4 weeks in a month approximately, that is 4,000 tweets per month. Let's just say that. Now, let's just say those 1,000 tweets, I'm just being, very, very economical here. That I have 1,000 tweets that are commercial. Let's say I'm marketing something for somebody. I've signed a global contract with somebody to promote, giving them 1,000 tweets in a month. Let's just use that. 1,000 tweets in a month that are commercial times 7 months, that's 7,000. Times the worth of my tweets. The worth of my tweet as estimated by that site is between 6,000 to 10,000 per tweet. So I am losing on the average per month about 28 million naira. And I am not the only person that has a platform on Twitter. There are lots of people who have bigger platforms, bigger followers, and they engage further than myself. So you can imagine the damage, that government has done to people who have done them nothing. And you recall that every pain teaches a lesson, and every lesson changes a reasonable person. So this is how we radicalize our youth, that we have failed to engage, that we have failed to provide for, that we have failed to create an enabling environment for, to thrive. We cost them more, despite the fact that they are being the government in their own realm. Why can't government create an enabling regulatory environment that supports global technology initiatives rather than focusing on censorship and control? You see, we continue to get it wrong. We continue to breach and hemorrhage trust when we continue to clamp down on things. Clamping down on things has never changed anything, has never made anything better, but it will always make things worse, and it will radicalize our youth towards hating anything that comes from government and distrusting anything that comes from government. So, to me, what has happened now is actually a lose-lose for the government. It has not won government any trust, and it's not even worthy of celebrating. Oh, Twitter is back. Let us commend the government. Commend them for what? For making a blunder? For not listening to advisory? For not consulting widely enough? There are people on the platform you could have easily asked, what can we do in this situation? This is what Twitter is doing. We see Twitter's role in the last protest that happened, and we don't want a case where our country will be driven apart by the advent of Twitter. Fine, it is a logical argument, and we can begin to say, okay, fine, to do this, you can engage with the platformer on certain things. You see, all the things that Gabashew and the rest are putting out there, they are not true. Twitter can never give you the access to their backend to delete people's tweets. It is not done. It is a platform, it's a sovereign entity. This is the same Twitter in their country of origin, where they are based, who censored their own president. And they didn't shut them down for that. So this is not something we're not that gullible in Nigeria. Like I said, our youth are very intelligent and they know what is obtainable. Twitter or platformers like that have made the world a global village. So we should stop lying to ourselves and face reality. If government have made a blunder of their policies, they should apologize to Nigerians and then they start afresh and make a believer of us. And I think this is the way to go.
Okay, on the issue of Twitter, yes, the Nigerian government says it has unbanned Twitter. And across Africa in 2021, really, we saw many African countries, including Morocco, including Zambia and Nigeria, clamping down on that platform. What's next? Are we going to see more draconian steps, such as we have in China? China seems to be the major model in terms of repression of the internet. In the 1930s, it was Germany under Hitler that ordered the burning of books. Now, these days, they are no longer burning books. Governments are burning Twitter, social media platforms, from Morocco to China to Algeria to every other part of the country, of the continent, to Nigeria. Now, how bad can it get? Do you think that those agreements purportedly entered into by the Nigerian government with Twitter will make any difference? Because let me make my own personal opinion known. Within 24, 48 hours that Twitter returned, the Nigerians on Twitter Street, they didn't show any remorse, I guess. They were even more vociferous in their attack on government. So what is going to happen? Is there going to be another clampdown given the mind of government?
I think, Dr. Reuben, Abati, as you know, given your experience in the operation within the highest level of government, you know that when government makes mistakes like this at this level, they probably will not want to come out to say, oh, we made a mistake or so. They will find a way, as adults do, to make amends underneath and use some different excuses and use it to, cover up for their lapses and all. I want to strongly underneath to engage widely to find better means of engaging our youth. You see, you cannot force anybody to like you or to love you or to appreciate you or to endorse you or to approve what you're doing. The best way to fight, the vociferousness of our youth and all is transparency. Open up to them, engage them, enlighten them. Let them know what government is doing at every facet of, let them know the importance of every policy. Let them know why, justify the things that you do to them. Open up and engage them as well. See, governance is not about some group of a bunch of politicians making rules at one end of the world. It's about engaging the people enough to know what it is that they desire and doing that and meeting that needs. Because once they've shown that political will for the change that they want, it is now next for government to meet them where they are, on those terms, and then engage them further by educating them on what they have done and how they can hold them to account. This is the only way to bring people closer to government and to bridge the gap, the institutional gap between government and the people. So it is not about censorship. It's not about controlling how people express their emotion. These emotions need to be expressed. And those, you can see also that those who cannot find means to express themselves using mediums like this, they take up arms against the state. And that's exactly what we're seeing in the northern part of the country. Do we want every part of Nigeria to take up arms against the state because they don't have means through which they can express themselves and relieve themselves of the pain they are going through? This is one of the reasons why we must understand the power and purpose of every single thing that we have, every single platform that we have in Nigeria. So Twitter is not the enemy. It's just a platformer giving opportunities for people to express themselves. Will people misuse it? Of course they will, as people misuse government and power as well. So, but how do we ensure that people use Twitter properly? Government should lead by example. They should engage. There are people who use Twitter to engage the public and to bring about positive, structures or policies and all within the system. We've done it before. We are doing it as we speak. Government should engage and get a proper education on how to, engage our youth, rather than using censorship or clamping down on accounts or shutting down Twitter. That is not sustainable and it is not advisable.
Segun, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, came forward to say, look, what government did was brazen and of no effect, to the extent that many Nigerians went on a VPN app, and banning Twitter was an absolutely unnecessary intervention. Do you agree with that view?
Yes.
Second, some other people have come forward to say, well, Nigeria lost up to about 500 billion naira. Another group in the papers today is saying we lost 1 trillion naira. But the big paradox for me is the fact that, on one hand, in the 2022 budget details, the Nigerian government is saying that it will promote a digital economy. We have a country where the fintech sector is growing. But at the same time, you see government, as is the case in some other countries, from Cameroon to Zambia and Zimbabwe, coming up with policies that are anti-fintech. What do you think is responsible for all of these contradictions?
I actually agree 100% with Sarah, on the condemnation of the action of government. But again, further to that, I don't really believe in pitching a tent condemning government. Governments are human beings. People in government are human beings, are citizens like us. They will make mistakes. They will make blunders. But the way to go is how.
The problem is that they make the mistake on a daily basis, and you keep wondering what kind of characters.
Per hour, basis, and we must continue to engage them to ensure such does not repeat itself. Nigeria must not be compared in any way to China. China is not a democracy, no matter how much it pretends to be one. And in a country where we have lost so much trust for government and government policies, it is time the government begins to make a believer of us, beginning with Twitter. Nigerians on Twitter, we cannot continue on this draconian trajectory where every time somebody feels attacked, they will look for something to censor or to shut down. It is not sustainable, it is not the way to go, and it does not promote peace and unity within our republic.
Okay, well, Segun, Awosanya, thank you for joining us. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll take reactions from those who have been listening to us or persons who have joined us on our social media platforms.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Welcome back to City Talks with Reuben Abati here on City 1051 FM. And our guest this afternoon is Segun Awosanya, popularly known as Segalink. Oh, okay, we already have a caller out there.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please go ahead, your comments. Yes. Hello.
Happy New Year, sir.
Same to you. Thank you for joining
I want
us.
to also wish our guests a Happy New Year to you, sir.
Okay.
Well, my take on it, I'm really disappointed in federal government. I remember 2014, precisely, it was the same shootout. The Lai Mohammed and every one of them, it was the same shootout, everybody. They were using against Goodluck Jonathan, the past administration. In fact, there's no way you won't see tweet of the Minister of Information every day. So today, and this same tweet was what they used in the station with the same propaganda. And today, they did all. And yet today, when they saw now that the SRS came up and the youth are now beginning to use Twitter, they now said no. They now begin to ban, and they were making all sorts of statements that are not even palatable, telling us that because the Twitter is used to tell the government, they use it. No, it wasn't so. So we know that where they are going, even for them not releasing it, they know that 2023 is already around the corner. But the Nigerian youth are waiting. We are waiting for them. Let's see how far they can go. They can use it again to tell us again this is the way to go. None of us will listen to them because we know we have suffered enough. God bless this nation in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Please, before you go, any comment on the fact that today is Armed Forces Remembrance Day?
I think the Armed Forces Day, I want to also say that the government is not doing enough, especially our retirees who have served this nation meticulously. Especially, look at the Armed Forces. In fact, the Nigerian police, if you see what as soon as maybe one of their loved ones basically the mother for their husband to fight for their where they are staying. It's palatable. It's not palatable. So I think I want to call on the government to see the need to take care of all our retired soldiers. Many of them are really suffering. Is it religion? Many. So I think we need to do something. It's not every year, January 15th, we lay refuge on those soldiers. What are we doing for those who have actually passed? I mean, who their families are left behind. Some of them are left on their own, the mercy of God. So I believe that Nigerian government, the federal government needs to do something. Whether past and present, they are the same. They all the same way. It's just a ritual every year. And we will not accept that again. God bless this nation in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Okay, Segun, Awosanya, you heard him very clearly, but there was a line in his contribution about how the lifting of the ban on Twitter, in his view, is tied to the politics of 2023. How is that the case? Hello, Segun?
Yes, I can.
Yes, please go ahead.
Anytime our federal government behaves in any draconian or in any militant form, using clampdown as a means of engaging the populace, and those suspicion, often leads to doubt and resentment that eventually makes a mess of every single thing that the policy. With that, everybody was just looking at it as though, well, they have lifted the ban. So what exactly could the rationale be? If you can wait for 7 months, 220 something days, costing people pain, costing them a lot of money and the rest of it, and then you now finally did it this time. So people will not associate or attribute this action to goodwill or to the love of the citizenry or to anything positive other than what exactly do they stand to benefit by lifting the ban now. And that speaks to the fact that we have just 1 year left before the 2023 elections. And with that, they need a year. Of course, once election is a year to time, that particular year creates a set. So people generally, 90% of Nigerians believe that it was because of election. They see what they stand to gain by reviving the use of Twitter so that they can come back and use the platform to campaign as usual and share propaganda. So it is not about the Nigerian people. And that speaks also to distrust. It speaks also to the fact that this has done more harm to government's reputation than it has done them good based on their decision to clamp down on Twitter. And also, it is obvious to the blind in Nigeria and even and very audible to the deaf that Nigerian government are not doing enough for our armed forces and our fallen heroes. And when you look at police around you, when you look at the stations, when you look at their processes and their infrastructure and their commitment to their duty, it is not there because you cannot give what you do not have. Because there's this Janus effect, this two-faced, effect that you have. The way the system treats you is the way you're going to treat your engagement of the system or the services you provide to the people. So if the government is not treating our armed forces well, then they the rule of law or they will respect the citizenry that they are even meant to protect. So governments need to do better. We need to also continue to hold them to account to ensure that they serve the Nigerian people, across board. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Segun, I have to take this. This is from Adegboyega Adedeji, one of the very faithful participants in this program. He's always here every week. And I guess, he's one of my co-producers. But this is what he is saying this week. Adegboyega Adedeji says, I see many government officials, politicians, especially APC party members, and those benefiting from the present government, welcoming back Nigerians on the Twitter. It's laughable and disrespectful. What has happened, Dr. Reuben Abati, is that a bad precedent has been set by the APC party that came into power through the idea of making a change from what the previous party did to Nigerians. But unfortunately, their own change for the past 7 years in power has sunk this country into the deep. Any party that doesn't tolerate civil criticism shouldn't be voted for. And now is the time Nigerians need to make it right. I can bet you, Dr. Abati, that if any presidential candidate from APC is given the chance to occupy the seat of power 2023, be it Professor Shimbajo or Asiwaju Tinubu, Twitter will be banned again because they can't withstand constructive criticism. May the souls of our heroes in the military continue to rest in peace. Adegboyega Adedeji. Well, I mean, maybe you will respond to that later, Segun. I see there is a caller on the line. Very quickly.
Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Yes? Your name?
Okay.
Your location?
My name is Chief Ike Chukwokafo.
Okay, Chief Okafo. Please go ahead.
Okay. And the government coming up to say they have unbanned Twitter. It's unacceptable by me because if you make a mistake, the only option you have to say sorry to the people. Nobody is above saying sorry. That's it. For the first time, it is illegal. You don't have that right to ban Twitter. Even as a president, you have to go to the courts to make the court understand what you want to do. You can't ban and unban whenever you don't like. You ban when you are getting back down to the election period. You unban. I'm not children, but I'm begging Nigerians to get their TVs. Just work for them at the police station. Thank you very much, Dr. Reuben.
Okay, thank you very much. Over to you, Segun Awosanya, on those two interventions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to agree with the last speaker. Twice shy, and then we must also try as much as possible that the fire that has once burnt us before does not repeat itself, does not burn us the second time. And people should take precautions. They should be intentional about the electoral process, and they should participate, and then they should counsel themselves more on the side of what they want and who they want, and which leader represents the interest of the people or represents the vision or the desire that we want, what we want, the attributes of a leader who is competent, who is capable, who has the clarity that is required, and also the maturity. Yes, sir. I can hear you. So it is.
Okay. Your connection went off for a second. So
okay.
Please
so
go
our focus must be on designing of what we want in a leader, not who we don't want. You know, the attention on who is running and who is not running, who should never run and whatever. It's that this are misplaced, aggressions and emotional tantrums that need not be deployed now. This is the time to galvanize for what we want. Let us begin to look at candidates and look at people who are proving themselves to be worthy of leadership come 2023. And these are the people we should rally our efforts, our emotions, we should talk about these ones. This is what we need now, not what we don't want. Because eventually, when you dwell too much on what you don't want, in politics, Dr. Reuben, we agree with, and there are no negative, there are no polarity. Positive, publicity is publicity, whether negative or positive. You understand? So as a way now, if you look at who is running now, the names that is most popular is the name of the people that people are saying they don't want. So why dwell on that? Why can't we arrive at what we want? Can we agree on that for starters? I think that's where the direction should be when it comes to 2023. But for now, I pray that between now and 2023, government should not make Nigeria further regret the fact that they made this decision to have this kind of leaders, in place. Because we have seen enough tyranny, we have seen blunders upon blunders on the power basis. Nigeria has been reduced to a laughingstock by a Committee of Nations, and even to us, a lot of us are not even proud to associate with our nation because of the kind of leaders that we have now, who doesn't listen to us, who believes more in impunity, who are unconscionable in all respects, and who does not they don't elicit that trust that is needed. They are not even willing to fight corruption the way they are promised to fight corruption. We have seen the body language of Dr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde and Mr. Hyde, where you say you are doing one thing and then we see you doing another. You bring a policy to do one thing, another policy to destroy the same thing that you've claimed to be doing. So we don't want the continuance of this. Nigeria needs to be healed. We need to focus our energy on building our nation and building our people, and not on waking up every morning to see what other madness that has happened, or what other crazy policies that have been put in place, or what blunders governments have made again. So we want to heal our nation. We want to put jobs in the hands of our youth. We want to empower them, and we want them to thrive. That is the focus. And we need a leader that will ensure that happens, that will create a platform that will deliver to Nigeria, that will create an enabling environment where Nigerians can find expression. This is the most important thing, and this is where the focus is. I don't want to dwell on what I don't want. I don't want to dwell on who I don't really want to associate with leadership at all. I want to focus on those people that I believe, gives me hope in the Nigeria of my dreams. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Jekyll and Hyde, I like that. That should resonate with the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who is being challenged from every quarter that rules are rules and that nobody is above the rule of law. You can't ask the people to stay at home and meet only an audience of one while you go about partying on the grounds, on the lawns of Downing Street. No, I see we have many people on the line, but I also see hands up on WhatsApp. Let's quickly go to Olufemi Awuyemi, who had sent a message earlier raising questions about the administration of justice. Femi Awuyemi, if you are with us, please go ahead. I see his hand up here. Femi Awuyemi, are you still with us? Okay. Okay, while we're waiting for Olufemi Awuyemi to join us via Zoom, I said WhatsApp, via Zoom, I will take the next call. Who's the next caller on the line? Hello? Okay, while we're waiting for that next call, I have Oluwaseyi from at Mike Omole on Twitter saying the unbanning of Twitter in Nigeria, is it not a strategy to stage the process for the upcoming general election where many politicians make use of the platform for campaign? The federal government is unjust. Well, I thought you referred to that earlier on by Segun Awosanya. You referred to that earlier on.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I would have loved to hear from Dr. Femi Awuyemi, who is one of the patriotic Nigerians who just completed their senior executive course 43 in 2021 on National Institute at Kuru, and they did a wonderful job with on the theme getting things done, strategies for policies and program implementations in Nigeria. And I would have loved to hear his insight, on how far we are, where we are on that journey to bringing about a nation that we can be proud of in Nigeria, and based on the things that are happening around us. I believe government can actually do more. We have enough resources within that can actually bring Nigeria out of the doldrums. But is there enough political will for government to do right by the Nigerian people? That's the question.
Thank you, Segun. Well, I see Femi Awuyemi here saying he cannot unmute himself. He says it is managed by the administrator. So if the engineer on duty is out there and is not sleeping, you should please try to unmute Olufemi Awuyemi. I also see Ibrahim Jimo also trying to contribute via Zoom. I hope somebody is on that system. But we have somebody on the, calling in. Yes, good afternoon. Your name? Hello. Thank you for joining us. Please go ahead.
To me, it is total naivety to allocate unnecessary powers to Twitter as it is the only micro social blocking.
Hello, we're not hearing you very well. Please, could you turn down? Please, could you turn down the volume of your radio completely so that we can hear you in the studio?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better now. When you call in, please turn down your radio.
Naivety. I have done that. It's total naivety to allocate all powers to Twitter. Are you there?
I'm with you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. There are other micro blogs where other Nigerians can use. That's one. Secondly, we can't go the Rwanda way. We can't because of one company's pettiness. You can see how belligerent they were, how bellicose they were. They didn't mean well. Look, we can pretend all we want. But truth is, if you could crossing the lines. This is social bloc that is bent on seeing certain things go. The government will and open their eyes and see the country is get by burnt or destroyed. If the country is destroyed, all the people, including Awosanya, which country do we have? If the country gets burnt because of Peter's inactivity, what do we have? The question is, the right thing was done. Truth is, this government was assertive. They made it known. You may have your rules and conditions. We have our laws too. You don't come here and fight. You don't come here and allow people use their platform to do all manner of evil. Otherwise, the country gets burnt. Am I making myself clear, Dr. Abati?
I'm hearing you.
Hello?
I'm listening.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the truth is, and it's exaggeration, pure exaggeration that we lost millions or trillions. If they were not, use that word, colloquialism now, how come they agree to all the terms easily? No, it's so obvious. It's just a common logic. How come they agree easily? Because if they were having the aces, they would easily have gone down many things. Let them go elsewhere now. So we can't afford to go the one that way, all because we want to please. There are other sides. These excuse that maybe the politician wants to use it is total paradise. The truth is that without Twitter, we'll live our life and they can use other means to communicate. After all, the best election we ever had, Adela's on 1993, there was no social blog then. With this campaign, so it's all that nonsense. They've done the right thing, ban them. If they see misbehavior, let them be banned again. We can't leave the country to the hands and the mercy of one social blog or because we want to please the West. Thank you.
Okay, well, Segun Awosanya, this is a completely different opinion. This person. Thanks. Hello? Someone is on the line.
Dr. Femi Awoyemi is here.
Oh, Femi Awoyemi is on the line.
Yeah, I thank you very much for the conversation I've listened. And I'm grateful for the role you, Reuben, Abati, is playing, both on your programs on TV and here. But this is not a celebration moment, including my brother, Segun. Here is the truth. I've listened to some of the comments from people. There is anger in the land, and it is justifiable. It is justifiable in the sense that we have a challenge. The challenge is not about the leader, because the character of a nation comes not from the character of its leader, but from the character of its citizens. As citizens, and of which I am, I can offer just my own contribution in a way to support some of the comments have been made by those who called in and those who read. Here are the two things I will say. Listen, there is no Messiah coming to save us. We as a people, we are formed of certain things, but for some reasons, we have not faced onto the reality. There were a nation in formation. There is no nation called Nigeria. We are going through a process of understanding our differences and whatever. And some of these things can be heightened up, and we can use the Boko Haram and all these other things to speak about what the challenges are. But that is the process nations go through. And so I'm not going to make some episcopal pronouncement here, is that any man who comes here and is showing his angry is justified. But there is levels to this madness. As a nation, we are going through a challenge. It is important to understand that the challenge is there. I shared something with yourself and Sega and a few people who I'm close with about the Nigerian police in Area C who are locking people up without anybody knowing. If the people who are in charge of the law are already breaking the law, how do you stop an ordinary man protecting himself? He will protect himself whichever way. And all we are inviting is anarchy, but we have no reached the stage of anarchy. The Nigerian state is a very strong state, but it's not working for everybody. It's not working for the ordinary man. It's working for only those like myself who have friends in high places who can make things work. Let's be honest about that. That is the first honesty I want to pass out. If that's the only message I can tell anybody, to say that Nigeria is not working for everybody. But Nigeria is not a lost case. Nigeria is not a lost case. It is not a Buhari problem. It is a systemic problem. If you take Buhari out now, you still find a problem tomorrow. Could Buhari as our president have done better. He did his best. That's what presidents do. They do their best within what they have at that point in time. And then after that, another person takes over. We have an opportunity in this current administration, current election, to make some informed choices. We are in a position whereby we are not making a decision based on who we want. Reuben contested for governorship, under a governorship candidate. He didn't win, but he's still serving the country. And that is the attitude Nigerians must take. Segun did all it could to develop Nigerians and to build the NSAS. Somebody hijacked it, and they used it for a different objective. And everything is convoluted right now. The truth of the matter is that my only contribution, Dr. Reuben Abati, is that, Abati, we are not a doctor, right? Segun. Dr. Reuben Abati, the point I'm trying to say is that, Dr. Reuben Abati, you are doing a human's job, creating the kind of platform that government should support to allow people to vent, to allow people to talk, to allow us to exchange ideas. I may be a better person today, but most of my family members are not in a better position. The justice administration system in this country does not work. Where you do not have a rule of law, everything goes crazy. We've seen in Djokovic in Australia, and we've seen with Boris Johnson, whereby the rule of law does not make any sense. Even in advanced country, it only makes sense to those who are rich. It happens in Nigeria. We're not unique. But we must understand as a country that we are going through a phase. It will be rough. We'll get there. We'll find a way. Sometimes I am also on the receiving end, whereby the system makes you feel as if you want to kill everybody. And like the last speaker did, complaining about his anger is genuine. So let's not overanalyze and intellectualize things. And I know Segun said I will come up with some profound things. Let me explain something to you, what I learned in my news today. Sitting down with people from the Nigerian military forces, in the public service, in higher positions, in private sector, the truth of the matter is that everybody is complaining like just them. So if everybody in the senior position is complaining, who are we complaining to? What are we complaining about? We are complaining about, every complaint is genuine. But who are we complaining to? The system is not working, the structure is not working. We cannot run the presidential system over a civil service structure that even those who are in the civil service are complaining. In fact, you have more complaint from people in civil service that this system is not working for them. It is not a particular president in time, and it's not the president we will elect that will solve it. It is for us to learn how to engage in lawmaking, in decision-making, and in how the state is governed. Let me not take too much of your time. There's so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Femi Awoyemi. And I note particularly the point you made about government breaking their own rules. And my favorite book in that regard, although it was focused on the Bush administration in the United States, is When Governments Break the Law, the Rule of Law, When Governments Break the Rule of Law. And that book is edited by Austin Serat and Nassar Hussain. Government should not be breaking the law. If government breaks the law, then what do you want the people to do? But Segun, I would like you to respond to some of those issues raised by Femi Awoyemi and the caller before him, who said clearly that government is misbehaving.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reuben, and also to one of our trustees, Mr. Femi Awoyemi. Yeah, you always be a doctor to me because your clarity is not ordinary. It's not something I can attribute to somebody who is not enlightened. So accept that PhD from me, sir. So on the last caller, I'm not giving to also condemn people's perspective because we all see from where we stand. For some of us, we may see from we may know a little bit of certain things that other people are not seeing. But again, they see where they are better than where we are. So it's always commendable when we see people come out to say, oh, government actually did right with this. Oh, how can we open our eyes and allow a platform to do things and all? Again, you see, social media is new globally. And when I say new, I mean, when you look at our laws, not every single feature of any social media platform is provided for in the laws that we have, not especially in Nigeria. So again, are we saying, social media platforms they are platformers that gives opportunities to people to express themselves. So when I say something on a social media platform, that is, I express my opinion, and government feels that opinion is abusive to them, or that opinion is inimical to them, or that opinion is against their interest, who do they punish for that? The platformer or the speaker? So when you go to court, for example, somebody said, oh, if Twitter is innocent, how come they agreed to all the provisions and the conditions that government gave? You were not at that meeting, sir. You were not there. You are only responding or reacting to what you were told by the same government and the rest. The truth of the matter is, every platform has their own principles, policies, ethical consideration. There are rules governing engagement on their platform. And there are ways in which they have their own rules also, that if you break such rules, they can either suspend you, give you several warnings before they totally or permanently disable your handle from the platform. And it doesn't matter whether you're a president or you are not. So one thing is clear, anyways, that such platforms, when they are operating in nations like Nigeria, because of the population of the people who have adopted their platform, it is better and it is more efficient for them to understand the culture and the law of Nigerian states, so that polarize Nigeria or divide Nigeria, that is even trying to heal from disunity. So I agree with all those things, but these things are not black and white, as it were. They are nuanced and they are subject to interpretation. So don't take government words as it is, as though Twitter has committed an offense against Nigeria. Of course, there are certain things that Twitter themselves did operationally from their CEO and the rest that are, tantamount to disunity, that should not be acceptable by anybody. But how we reacted to it is more like you burning down your house because a rat ran into it. And it can be handled better. That's what we're saying. We're not saying kudos to Twitter, they did everything 100%. So there are no absolutes anywhere. There's always room for improvement. And according to what Mr. Femi Awoyemi said, we need to be tolerant. We need to be open to understanding. We need to understand from where people stand and engage people enough to see their point while we enlighten them on some other things that they probably may not have considered. Government can never be given a pat on the back on anything, at least based on what we have seen on ground, that we have empirical evidence of. As we speak, despite the fact that we've just finished the battle and the engagement on police brutality, passing of bills and assenting to laws and all, police are still abducting. How do you justify that? How can you even reconcile that with all that we have lost? State government, police themselves have not even gotten compensation from the Judicial Panel of Inquiry as we speak. Their police stations have not fully been repaired, and yet they are back to the same thing that got them there. How do we justify this? As we speak, President Buhari has gone to commission automobiles and vehicles procured by the Police Trust Fund Board that is still under investigation of the ICPC. Is he endorsing corruption unwittingly? Or is it saying that the fight for corruption is non-existent? So there are so many things that we cannot reconcile. So there's no way we can give government a pat on the back on anything, because they are not inspiring any commendation whatsoever. But we understand that governments themselves is not just one politician or a group of politicians making decisions. We have to contribute ourselves. We have to engage them. We have to offer solutions also where we can, and that's what we have been doing for decades. And so that's one thing I want to agree with Mr. Femi Awoyemi on, that we to account, and we must also welcome different opinions without clamping down on them. Thank you very much.
Segun, well, we need to just take 2 more interventions and then we'll wrap this up for today. I saw Femi Awoyemi reacting and saying, look, Nigeria is not the worst case in the world, but we just need to ensure that law and justice, constitute the pillars of whatever we do in this country. But here I have Yemi Adeogun from the UK asking you whether indeed we can really have a Democrat as leader of Nigeria at any time, because he thinks that Nigerians believe in the military. They still have this military hangover, and that is why we keep going back to military persons in and out of uniform to decide who will be the future leader or present leader of Nigeria. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. When Nigeria speaks of Democrats and Republicans, I don't know whether they understand the ideology that lies within. Nigerian politics is void of ideology as far as I'm concerned. It's always about the party in power and how we can flock to that place and to our own advantage at the expense of the people. But again, I must agree with the person also, with contributor, that it is time for us to begin to look beyond parties, to look beyond big names, to look beyond certain sentiments of ethno-religious, traits, and begin to ask ourselves, who has the capacity, who have the conscientiousness, who have clarity, who have the understanding of governance enough to know how to deliver a fair, just, and equitable society for the Nigerian people. We have suffered a great deal. And what we need is a government that listens to us and that obeys the rule of law, that delivers transparent governance to the Nigerian people, that welcomes the contributions of the youth. It is not about youth governance. So we need experience. We need people. And when I say experience, I don't mean people who have experience in looting treasuries and the rest. I mean experience in humanity, who understand how to feel the empathy or how to be empathetic towards the Nigerian people. We're not also looking at a socialist agenda under the umbrella of Democrats. I'm not a Marxist. I don't believe in, woe to the job providers and let us raise the workers. So no, it's not about that. It's about a holistic understanding of what works for Nigeria. If you look at the definition of democracy all over the world, the way it has been expressed all over, it is different. And we need to look at our culture and see what works for us. Anything that understands Nigeria in this context of the regional strength and what we have, for example, look at the East. The East is the hub of business globally, but we have abandoned these people. We have demonized them. We have isolated them. We keep saying insensitive things like, no, Igbo people can become president in Nigeria and all those things, and we don't understand the harm we're doing to ourselves. If you give technocrats, for example, or we have a minister of the Southeastern community, for example, give such a person a power to look into what we can do there and open all the borders there and open all the ports there and provide the enabling environment for these people, they will be greater than China. So why can't we do this? Where is the political will to hold ourselves? And that's where unity begins. Understanding ourselves based on our uniqueness. And looking at what the benefits of our diversity. This is the essence of our Nigerianism, because of our Nigerian citizenship. We go abroad and we unite. We don't think of Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa when we are on foreign soil. Why do we do that to ourselves here? So a lot of things, we need to see things differently. We need to change our mindset, and we need to begin to do things differently. Our problem is systemic. It is not about an individual. We cannot gain anything by demonizing any government or any president or any governor. It is about taking responsibility and showing what we want to contribute to see the kind of Nigeria that we want to live in or want to also bequeath to our children as a legacy. Thank you, Dr. Reuben Abati.
Yes, Segun, Ibrahim Jimo, who has been raising his hand, unfortunately we will have to go now, just concord with you and said indeed that Nigeria's problem is systemic. And on that note, I would like to thank everyone who has been part of this program. Professor Duroni joined us via Zoom. I can also see there Tunde Aremo, Samuel Chukuka, Odeyemi Kunle, Yemi Adeogun from the UK, Kenneth Iwomazuo, Kikelomo Atondawo, Akin Ogunlade, Alade Momi, Abayomi, Idiegbe Ayenose Ikile, and so many others who joined us this Saturday via Zoom, and all of you who joined on WhatsApp and also on other social media platforms.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.